Good morning, I'm Diane Smith. Welcome to Capitol Report Morning Report for Thursday, June 2nd. Very glad you could be with us. Here's what's happening at the state capitol this morning. Governor Malloy's Yukon Health Center Bioscience Initiative, known as SB 1152, was debated in the Senate last night. The project, announced by the governor late last month, has a price tag of more than $800 million and will require new state bonding. An informational forum was organized a week ago to provide answers to legislators' many questions. Here's what they said last night on the Senate floor.
At its core, this vision is about creating 16,000 high-quality jobs for Connecticut. It's a positive vision. It's about believing in Connecticut and believing in our ability to create high-quality jobs. It builds on our strengths. In Connecticut, we have a highly educated workforce, and this will provide high-quality jobs that build on that workforce and will create the kind of jobs that will have our graduates of our institutions of higher learning stay in Connecticut. It leverages and builds on a positive asset that we have, University of Connecticut Health Center. It's a unique public asset, and it's a good model for growing because it grows on an asset and a strength.
My concern here with the hospitals is that while we put $864 million into a state-funded hospital, under the new rules, the post-budget rules of hospital reality in the state of Connecticut, is that we're going to have winners and we're going to have losers. And if we're investing $864 million into an institution that's going to compete with our other hospitals, who are the losers? I fear that the losers are going to be those that are back, I'm going to say, in my district, like Griffin Hospital, that services the lower Naugatuck Valley. What about those jobs? Where do those jobs go? Are the people that work at that hospital, that live in that community, going to work here in Farmington? I think not.
Following more than 3.5 hours of debate, the Senate passed SB 1152 by a vote of 24 to 11. It now goes to the House for final action. Also yesterday, the House passed HB 6498, which means a 2-year delay in the secondary school reforms that change the high school graduation requirements. That bill was signed into law late last year. The vote to hold off for 2 years went 139 to 9. That now goes to the Senate. The House also passed HB 5530 by a vote of 139 to 6. It gives students the choice of opting out of animal dissections in school. A Republican amendment passed to require parental consent, though, for the student to opt out. That bill now goes to the Senate. And now headed to Governor Malloy's desk, the General Government Budget Implementation Bill, HB 6651. It passed the Senate last night by a vote of 21 to 14 after nearly 6 hours of debate. It's a big bill. It included more than 300 sections, creates the Office of Government Accountability, which will oversee the state's watchdog agencies such as the State Elections Enforcement Commission, the Freedom of Information Commission, the Office of State Ethics, as well as Child Advocate and Victim Advocate. It also includes the reorganization and consolidation of the state's higher education system, and it delays for 2 years the implementation of generally accepted accounting principles known as GAAP, which had been Governor Malloy's priority number 1. In fact, the day he was sworn in, he went immediately to his new office and signed an executive order to implement GAAP. Well, joining me now, the Senate Chair of the Higher Education Committee and member of the Appropriations Committee, Senator Beth Bye, and Senate Ranking Member of the Appropriations Committee, Senator Rob Kane. Rob also serves on the Education Committee. Thank you both for getting up so early. I know it was a late night last night, and you have quite a few more of those to come, so we appreciate your being here. Good morning. Beth, you said last night that someone said the health center has been bailed out by the legislature 4 times since 2000. You said this is not a bailout bill. This is a jobs bill.
Absolutely. The plan that we approved last night, 71% of the dollars have been approved by this legislature, and a plan for the hospitals in the region was approved by the legislature last year. This didn't change those things. What this bill did was it added $254 million to create 5 times more jobs than the act that was passed last year. So while the total is $800 million, it's $254 million focused on job creation, 16,000 new jobs for Connecticut.
Senator Kane, you agree with that?
No, I don't. Just the admission of saying this is not a bailout means it is a bailout. We have bailed out this hospital 4 times since the year 2000. Just last year, we had to give them an additional $13.5 million for fringe benefit costs. Senator Bye yesterday admittedly said that our costs are higher there because of all their state employees, so it costs higher rather than the private hospitals. So, no, I don't think we should be putting more good money after bad. We continue to go down this road.
It does seem as though, from the assessments that have been done, there is a potential to really give a kickstart, or to enhance anyway, the bioscience research in the area, and that does seem to be an area of the future. That seems to me like that would be something that I'd want to take pretty seriously in voting.
Certainly, but what we want to do, government doesn't create jobs. Private industry creates jobs. The private sector creates jobs. So what you want to do is give them the tools in the toolbox to allow that to happen. So we want to give them tax incentives. We want to give them a lower tax base or lower taxes. We want to provide lower regulations, that kind of thing. That's what's going to spur the economy, not the government. So I think our philosophy is just different. We believe that we want private industry, those little startup companies, to become Pfizers. That's what we're looking for, not for the government to run it, because you can look at the United States Postal Services versus FedEx and UPS. They just don't do it as well.
Senator, is there not a portion of the bill that would allow for, or at least try to enhance attraction of private capital for some of what the senator was talking about?
Absolutely. I just want to respond to what Senator Kane said and say that the vast majority of these jobs created are private jobs. Over 85% of the jobs in the 16,000 forecast are in private industry. This is about creating a workforce and bringing a workforce here, 100 new clinical researchers, a critical mass of bioscience physicians, researchers. It's what Pfizer says they need more of. Massachusetts just invested $1.1 billion to do something similar. And we are in the Northeast. A 2-hour drive, and our expert doctors can be in Boston. There's a synergy, sort of like our stem cell center. The Yukon Stem Cell Project works closely with Yale. These are things that work together. So we are looking to create private industry jobs to encourage intellectual development of new products, which is what Connecticut has always done so well. We're about innovation, and this builds on that.
Senator Kane, I want to talk to you about another issue, and that is the budget implementer that was passed last night had a large number of components to it. One of them deals with the consolidation of higher education. Good thing or bad thing?
Well, we propose an amendment on our side of the aisle to exclude the community colleges out of that. And I said in my statement on the Senate floor that I'm a graduate of a community college. And the community colleges have a different need or a different niche. So what we would like to have seen is them weeded out. I think so much is given to UConn, and the other schools tend to take a back seat. So I would want to see, although I do agree in consolidation, and we do need to have savings, and we do need to reduce positions, we still need to make sure we find the niches available for these institutions.
Senator, will the community colleges suffer?
I don't believe so at all. If I did, I wouldn't have voted for the bill. The consolidation will help the community colleges and the CSUs and Charter Oak work together to grow the workforce that we need and is responsive to workforce needs, and also help students who are working so hard to go to school at those community colleges be able to move on to CSU without losing a year's worth of work while they're working full-time and taking classes. I think this was a needed change.
What are the other sections of that calls for the consolidation of the so-called watchdog agencies? They have been pretty clear in their testimony and their at public hearings and elsewhere that they feel this is going to take some of the teeth out of what they do, whether it's FOI, Freedom of Information, or whether it's supervising elections, or whether it's the Office of Agency of Government Ethics.
Yeah, I think Senator McKinney said it best when it's very difficult for you to make a whistleblower statement on your boss to the person who's going to defend your boss. So I think there's some conflicts there. So we would have liked to seen that separated. And the way this proposal works, it's not going to happen. So again, we believe in consolidation, but do it the right way, not just for the sake of doing it. I don't think you should have a press conference and be out there, pounding your chest because you've made some consolidations. I think you have to do the smart consolidations, ones that work.
Senator Bye, are you concerned that some of those will get lost in the transition?
Well, I think it's our job to stay vigilant and watch them and make sure that they're able to carry out their missions without threat from the governor. And I don't believe that it's structured so that the governor has a say over that. I think they've been very careful to keep up that wall. And I think, my colleague, Senator Kane, who studies all the issues very thoroughly, is saying, I'm for consolidation, just not these. Mm-hmm. And, that's what we were up against this year. We had a major structural deficit that's going forward, and we believe these consolidations will shrink the size of state government ultimately and save dollars.
But they haven't shrunk the size of government. Out of 54,000 state employees, it's only consolidated 151. So I don't see the consolidation there. All we're doing is moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. We haven't made real cuts. We continue to spend more. I mean, our first salvo was talking about the Yukon Medical Center. Add in the busway and the high-speed rail, we're over $1 billion in new borrowing and spending. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
And that was one of the issues that Republicans opposed about the Yukon plan, to go back to that, was that too much borrowing.
Yeah, Moody's has come out and said your borrowing, your debt should be 8% of your total budget. Connecticut is already 11% of our total budget, and that's going to increase. On the Senate floor, we talked about that, and it's mentioned that, certain projects are going to come off the list. Well, where are they? Let's see them. Let's make sure that we reduce our spending before we go and spend $1 billion more. That's the real problem we had with this proposal.
Senator Bye, are you worried that the state's credit card is maxed out?
No, this does not change the state's credit card at all. This is about an investment, like an annuity. We're making an investment to say, look, we've had 11 months of job growth in 20 years. The status quo will not do anymore. We need to make investments that will lead to jobs. People can't wait for those jobs, and that's why we moved expediently on this bill.
I will ask you one more question, because Senator Kane brought up the busway. That seems to be a sore spot for a lot of people. Is that going to work?
I think the busway is going forward. The governor has said that. We will see if it'll work. I believe it's an investment in public transportation, which we haven't been able to get a project done in the state for many years. So the governor's decided to go forward with it, and we will do our best to make that work and increase the ridership and give people a way other than the $4 a gallon cars to get to work. So there are a lot of things at play. I mean, the cost of gas, people call me and say it's too high and we need public transportation options, and this is an option.
Senator, I heard a word last night that, as a longtime journalist in the state and someone who covered the toll booth crash in Stratford many years ago that eventually led to getting rid of the tolls on I-95, I heard the word tolls again, and tolls for Route 11. In some sense, it makes sense to me, even to put tolls maybe at the borders and let people coming in pay. Is it a good idea?
Here's the issue. Let's put the issue of tolls aside for 1 minute, and let's talk about the appetite for spending. All we talk about in this building is revenue, revenue, revenue. How about reducing spending? That's the issue. So whether you're for tolls or against tolls, I don't think that's even the real issue here. All we're doing is looking for more revenue options to feed this appetite that we continue to grow, and that's where I think we're wrong.
What I should make clear is that we're not talking about tolls on 95. We're talking about Route 11. Is that a good way to pay for the completion of that project, Senator?
I don't think it's a bad way. I haven't heard the bill yet, so I'll be listening in the Senate for that. So we'll see. But I do know that our transportation costs are high, and we need to do what we can to improve our transportation system. So this is one way.
Well, it has passed the House, so it will be coming to the two of you. Thank you so much for coming in. And again, I know it was a late night, and I really appreciate your getting up early and being with us this morning.
Thank you,
Senator
Diane.
Rob Kane and Senator Beth Bye. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Well, for 2 years, the Commission on Enhancing Agency Outcomes met regularly to find ways to cut state expenses while improving the quality and the accessibility of state services. In December, after many meetings and a lot of discussion, the Commission approved its final report.
As we all know, we have a significant deficit in our state, and that even with the good work that we've done here, there'll still be a lot more work that needs to be done. But the changes that the recommendations that we make in this report, our charge was to streamline government, to find efficiencies, and to save money in doing that. And I think that we